Reddit Storytime. Detectives of Reddit, what are some of the creepiest cases you have worked on? Alright, detective now, but this happened when I was on patrol several years ago. Got a call to check the welfare of a guy whose neighbor hadn't seen him in a couple years. Why it took so long to report? But it was out in a rural area. Anyway, we roll up and the windows are black with mold and flies. Car is parked in the garage. No signs of forced entry. Breach the door and find said guy wrapped up in a phone cord beside a toppled chair in his dining room. He was mummified / melting into the carpet. Barely recognizable as a human aside from his shape and clothes. The smell of him mingled with the inches of stagnant water in his basement from burst pipes and all the dead flies and mold. I'll never forget it. We also found 2 bags of groceries neatly packed on the floor in his kitchen. House was very tidy as well. No witnesses. Estranged from his family. Clearly had a cat, but we never found its remains. Medical record indicated he had a heart condition. My theory is he was having a heart attack and tried to call 911 but never got to make the call. Perhaps the creepiest part? His mailbox was overflowing with past due bills and cancelled utility notices. The last one was a couple months old. And it still took someone that long to call. Ex-insurance investigator here. The most unsettling arson case I worked was at the Masonic Temple in the historic Black Business District in downtown Birmingham, Al. This beautiful 8-story Renaissance Revival-style building was constructed in the 1920s, and included a massive marble lobby, and a grand, and I mean grand, ballroom. It also housed numerous black-owned businesses, like tailors, dressmakers, attorneys, doctors, dentists, the NAACP, etc. After integration and white flight, the businesses closed or moved, resulting in the building becoming vacant, with the exception of the still functioning masons. Even though the building was heavily secured and guarded by a single security officer, it was still breached by squatters / crackheads, who managed to cause a fire on the 3rd floor. That's where I came in. My job was to determine the source, cause, and extent of the fire damage. That meant exploring the entire building, which had no electricity because the fire department cut it until it was deemed safe to resume electrical services. The grand ballroom took up the entire 2nd floor, and luckily had no damage, so I just admired the exquisite millwork and decor. The 3rd floor housed mostly professional offices, some even contained their original mid-century furniture, in pristine condition. The 4th floor, however, became darker. Literally darker. I used a flashlight to advance down the gloomy hallways, and inspect every room. I found the NAACP office that was literally frozen in time, file cabinets and all. As I was moving down the 2nd hallway, my eyes fixated on a large, looming structure in the far corner. I slowly made my way closer, nervous about what I would find. Finally I was close enough to discover a fucking coffin. An old, Dracula-style coffin, standing up at the end of the hall. I didn't dare touch it. As I ascended the building, alone, each floor proved darker and gloomier than the one before, even though each floor had the same amount of windows. And the further up I moved, the more fucking coffins I found. In the middle of offices, in closets, blocking doors from the inside. It made no sense, until I got to the top floor. There, I found only 2 businesses. A coffin company, and the Order of the Eastern Star. I had an overwhelming feeling that I absolutely should not be there, especially not snooping around the O's lodge. I snapped a few pics, then bolted down the hall and hit the stairwell to the lobby. The only area I hadn't inspected was the basement, and I wasn't sure my nerves were up to it. I discovered a full fallout shelter down there, hundreds of drums of community shelter supplies. Water, food, medical supplies, radiation detectors, everything. The whole building was a massive time capsule, and I felt like I went back in time just being there. That was definitely my most interesting and spooky investigation. This happened when I was a newer cop on patrol, long before I became a detective. I was working midnights in a neighborhood with a high violent crime rate, and we got sent to a dispute at a bar. This wasn't just any bar, we always referred to it as the Star Wars Cantina because it was always a shit show. We stopped a rape in progress in the dirt alley behind the same bar not long after this. I was working with a female that night. We make our way through the bar systematically booting people out, and get to the bathrooms. I open the door to the men's room and it's empty, single stall bathrooms. My female partner goes to open the women's bathroom door but it's locked. She knocks on the door and a female says, "I'll be out in a minute." We advise her that the bar is closing, bars close at 4 AM in NY. After a couple of minutes we begin to grow impatient. Female partner knocks on the door again and the female agrees to open the door. When she comes out, we ask her what took so long. She's not providing any substance in her answers. She's wearing tight yoga pants, and we notice that she has a large bulge in the back of her pants/crotch. We believed she was either doing drugs in the bathroom and shoved the rest in her pants or that it was a weapon. When we question her about it, she's very evasive and won't answer us. Female partner begins to search her. As she pulls back the female's pants and shines her flashlight down to look, my partner says, "Fuck." She sees a baby arm sticking out from the female's vagina and up through her ass cheeks. This chick had been drinking and smoking crack all day. She had a stillborn and continued to stay at the bar and drink/smoke crack. When the ambulance arrived, they went back into the bathroom with the female and pulled the rest of the baby out of the female and into the toilet bowl. The baby was completely formed, except it never formed a head. It was just sunken in around the neck. I've seen some crazy shit in my career like brutal homicides etc., but that one always stands out the most. Insurance adjuster here. I'm not a detective, but I do lots of fraud investigations. The ones that aren't fraudulent sometimes just turn out to be really fucking weird. The winner for me hands down is the man who claimed he was terrorized by mole people. I know. Mole people sounds like something I would make up for fake internet points. We had a laugh about the adjuster potentially trying to pad their claims count because this man filed 60 claims in about 7 months. For context, the average is like 1 a year for most policies. After talking with this gentleman, I no longer had doubts. My in-person interview was about 2 hours. I had more than enough in the first 5 minutes and was trying to leave for most of it, but he kept blocking the door or directing me to wrong way to keep the mole people off my scent. It was kind of sweet in a twisted way. He genuinely thought the mole people would come after me if I didn't follow his rules. He directed me to park his oldie company car about a mile away on a concrete parking flat he had made. We couldn't walk on the dirt road there. The mole people constantly changed where it went. The claims he filed were all in similar veins. The mole people moved his car every night with magnets and damaged the suspension, and the noise kept our insured awake. They'd steal his hubcaps and put them back before they thought he would notice, but he noticed and they were covered in scratches from being pulled through the dirt. They would use long thin sticks from underground to siphon gas or wiper fluid or oil, but never more than a few drops. And for every one of these things he would file a claim which would inevitably be well below his deductible. We decided there was no fraud, but a call to Adult Protective Services was merited.